On both?
Yeah.
All right. So today we're doing Yoga for Anxiety 60-minute class. We are going to do a bunch of balancing things. So if you're still working on your balance, or you feel like you could focus more on the muscular action if you had a chair. So we're gonna balance, but we're gonna focus on hips. So if you have a chair or a wall or something that you can prop yourself up on, you have that handy so that you can lean on it for balance. You don't have to. You can also use blocks, stack blocks up. And if you have yoga block, grab a yoga block, because we may use them. You don't have to. We're just going to tell you how to engage and imagine you have a block if you don't have one anyway. So we're going to start on our backs today. And despite what Kaylee thinks, usually when we start on our backs, it means we're starting with core. So come on down to your back. Start to land, start to center. It's really hard when it's not facing us, so I don't know.
What?
So start to land.
Can't see it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on or broken. Start to center.
Maybe we can put a mirror behind it.
Start to land in the room. Find a little wiggle in the hips so the lower back softens and the muscles around the hips soften. Soften the shoulders. Maybe give them a wiggle. Really start to land on your mat. So we're centering or grounding, taking a moment to actually put everything that came before we got here and everything that is yet to come just somewhere else for now. Not that we're ignoring it and pretending things are not going to happen, but that we're going to arrive in present moment, land on the mat, land in this body, find the breath in this present moment in time. And if when you focus on your breath, a lot of people have struggle with focusing on their breath. I was also one of those people. So you can place your hands on your torso just underneath your rib cage to help you remember that when we focus on the breath in grounding, we're not pulling our breath with muscular action. So sometimes when we focus, we start to bring tension and muscular action and gripping, especially if we've been in athletic training for a long time or if we've had any trauma. So starting to really soften. Allow the breath to come in as naturally as it can and just watch it. And seeing as you watch it, maybe it starts to slow down. Softening the muscles in the face. Softening the muscles around the torso, around the shoulders. Trying to think about allowing as much breath to fill up your lungs as possible without forcing it. Notice if you have any natural pauses in your breath. So maybe you're breathing in and you're pausing for a while before you breathe out. Just notice that. Observe it. Maybe you're breathing in, you're breathing out, and you're pausing it in after your exhale. So just observe that. Maybe you have a pause at both. Maybe you pause when you inhale and pause when you exhale, or maybe you have no pauses. Maybe your breathing is a little more rapid. There are no right or wrong answers right now. We're just inquiring and landing in the body. Trying to let go of that should or should not. Let go of right and wrong and just observe without judgment what is going on in the present moment. Check in with the thoughts. Notice if they're swirling. Notice if they're quiet. And then take a moment to check in with your emotional state. Maybe even asking yourself the question, how am I doing? And remember, emotions are just emotions. They're just filters for the environment. So there's no, I shouldn't be this, or I shouldn't be that, or I should be happy, I shouldn't be angry. Just ask yourself, honestly, how are you doing? What are the emotions that are present today? Maybe allowing a little more expansion to allow whatever emotions are present. Try not to let the head get tangled in the emotional space and cognitively try to control the emotional space, but just observe it, see it. As if it's a swirling cloud around you and it's just supposed to swirl. And then if your feet are already on the ground with your knees up, just bring your feet to the ground with your knees up and tap the feet. Tapping the feet, feeling the soles of the feet. So maybe even rubbing them on your mat, maybe that feels better for you. Just trying to feel the soles of your feet. And then press the balls of the feet into the ground. Pull the toes up and spread the toes wide as they can go. Stretching the toes. And then place them down as if you're trying to place one at a time down onto the ground, nice and slow. And then pull them back up nice and slow, just feeling the muscles that activate in your feet so that your toes can move. Starting to have that mind-body connection. Push them down and then pull them up as slow as you can. And then let your feet soften. And we're going to pull the whole foot up. So you may need to move your feet around so you have a little bit more room for movement. You're going to have the heels on the ground and you're going to slowly pull the whole foot towards the shin and then back down. So just starting to feel our feet. Feet do so much work. And we often have no mind-body connection with what's going on in our feet. And then pull the feet towards the shins, the toes towards the shins, the feet towards the shins. And then we're going to take the feet slowly, slowly, slowly out. And then slowly, slowly in toward the midline. And really just trying to feel all of the muscles that engage to do this. And then watching for any compensation patterns you might have. Sometimes when you start to make it a little bit bigger, your whole back line wants to fire up. Maybe your glutes are doing all the work. Maybe your low back is doing the work. Just notice. Try to make it just in the feet and the lower leg. Feeling the muscles of the feet and the lower leg. And then let your feet soften and bring your knees in. Give yourself a little hug. And then we're going to think about the hips, but nice and slow. So bring the knees above the hips. Little bit of engagement in the core as if you're pushing the hips down into the ground. And maybe bring your arms out just to make sure you're nice and soft on the ground and counterbalanced. And then we're going to take our knees in very, very slow circles. So out and then in towards center, nice and slow. And again, trying to find the muscles in the hips and noticing if your low back has fired up and is trying to do all the work. Soften your face. Soften the muscles of the chest, the shoulders. Soften the muscles of the neck. Checking in, and then reverse your circles. Trying to connect with the muscles that can make these movements. And then bring the sole of the left foot down, knee up, right foot to the ceiling. We're going to lengthen the leg. So press the hip down into the ground and then push the leg up towards the ceiling. You can point the toes or pull the toes down towards the shin and push the ball of the foot up. So push. Whole leg strong and active. See how many muscles you can find in the leg. And then take little tiny, tiny, tiny tight circles with this leg. Tight as you can. Nice and tight. Notice if the low back's fired up. Try to push the hips down into the ground actively. Try to make the low back not do the work, but the muscles of the leg and a little bit of the lower core. Reverse your tiny circle. And then we're going to take our tiny circle all the way out towards the right shoulder, out to the right. See if you can circle while you're moving your leg out, 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 and then all the way back in. Again, look for your compensation patterns. Watch what that left hip is doing. Watch what the low back is doing. Try to make the work in the leg, the muscles of the leg and the hip. And then bring that down. Take your hips side to side, your knees side to side. Nice sway, release, reset. Kaylee loves hip circles. It's her favorite. Bring it back to center. Take the left leg towards the ceiling and first activate the leg. So really strong. Oh my gosh, my pants. Really strong.
I have dog hair all over my pants.
Push the leg up towards the ceiling. You can pull the toes down or point the toes, whatever feels better for you. Watch for your compensation pattern. So set yourself up first. Push the hips down into the ground. And then tiny, tight circles. Tiny, tight circles. And then see. You're going to reverse your circles. And then see if you can take your circles all the way over to the left. See if you can move the legs slowly and keep your tight, 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 tiny circles. Did you quit?
Yes.
And then all the way back to center.
Like circles is stupid.
And then bring that down. Take a side swing. We're going to start to work the core. So bring the knees above the hips. Bring the ankles out even with the knees. And again, set up. Push the hips down into the ground. Fire up your lower core. Take your arms out and push the rib cage down into the ground. Rib cage and shoulders are pushing down. Lower hips are pushing down. Lower back is not flattening to the ground. So our core is entirely active. So start to just be active from the balls of the feet all the way up the front line. And then if this is not already challenging enough, you're going to take your arms up overhead and hover them above the ground. So notice if that fires up a little bit more of the core. And take the chin a little bit more to the ceiling. And then if your shoulders and neck are strong, lift the shoulders a teeny bit. You can place a pillow underneath your head if this is too much for your neck. Hold, active and strong. Notice if the back's firing up, trying to do the work. Try to keep this all in the core. Lower the head down if you lifted it. Keep hovering the arms and bring the arms down towards the thighs. Connect with your arms on your thighs. So we're going to lengthen as we breathe in. So inhale, lengthen one side, arm overhead, leg long. Exhale, bring it back. Inhale, arm overhead, leg long. Exhale, bring it back. Watch for the low back. Really try to keep this a core exercise. Stay strong. And then bring your knees in towards the chest. Rock side to side. Reset. Bring your feet down, about even with the hips, knees up. Squish the hips down into the ground, push. Fire up. We're going to take our arms hovering above the ground, about shoulder height. So pressing the hips down into the ground, fire up the core first. So find those muscles we were just using. Pull everything down towards the spine without pushing the lower back into the ground. So see if you can push hips and rib cage and not lower back. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then you're going to take your right hand and take it towards the left knee. And then you're going to push your right hand over and then back. Push past the left knee and back. Firing up the core to do this. This should be a slow, controlled movement using the core. The slower you do this, the more you have to work. So if you're flopping around, you're just cheating yourself. Try to make the movement smaller and smaller, maybe not dropping the shoulders so far down towards the ground. Little push, using the core. Find the muscles of the stomach. Bring it back through center. Take the left hand past the right knee. Set up. Little tiny movements. Squeezing the core. Watching for tension in the neck. Move your head around so that your neck is comfortable. And keep this in the core. Really squeezing the stomach. Nice and tight. Bring it all the way back down to center. Release. Take your head side to side just to release any tension you might have brought into the neck. Finding where you might be holding the tension in your neck, connecting with the muscles of your neck. And then take your feet to the ceiling, spread the toes, take little ankle circles, and reverse the direction. We're going to set back up with knees over top of hips, underneath. Press the rib cage down. So press in the rib cage and the hips. Hands can be palms up, down on the ground to give you a little extra stability. If you want to make this a little easier, you're going to bend the ankles, bend the knees and bring the ankles in line with the knees.
Overknees the hips and bend the ankles.
Yeah. We're going to take an inhale. And then exhale, take the feet a teeny bit over towards the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, teeny bit over to the left. So, things to watch for. The back is not supposed to be doing all the work here. You want to take this into the core. Watch for your compensation patterns. Look at your face. Try to soften your face. Try to soften your chest. Really want this in the core. And again, your legs are less heavy if they're bent. So little movements, slow it down, find that mind-body connection. We're not just moving and hoping the right muscles do the work. We're trying to turn on exactly the ones we want to use.
I'm just moving and praying.
You can move and pray too.
Hopefully something's working.
You can also bring your hands. Your hands are wonderful tools. So bring your knees in. Give yourself a little hug to reset. Your hands are wonderful tools to help that mind-body connection because there's so many nerve endings on your hands. So step back up. Make sure you're nice and strong. Pushing the hips down. Pushing the rib cage down. Take your feet either up or your ankles even with your knees. Really engage and then bring your fingertips to the muscles you want to be using. So really having that connection. Then inhale, center, exhale. Take the feet a little bit over to the side. And then bring your knees in. Give yourself a little hug. Roll on over to a side and come on up to a seat. And then straight through to tabletop. We're going to move and breathe in tabletop. And we're going to add a little breath. So we're going to inhale fully. Exhale a little bit slower. And then add a little pause to our breath. So inhale full. Exhale a little slower. Little pause. So we're going to try and add that in for this breath practice. Trying to get rid of a little excess energy. We just started. So inhaling in tabletop, exhaling towards a child. Not worrying about the shape, but worrying about getting that mind-body movement and breath connection. Inhale, exhale, gentle pause. Inhale, forward tabletop. Exhale, back child. Gentle pause. And then maybe even closing your eyes and really trying to tune inside. Tune out all the other senses and try to find your breath and all the muscles in your body. Connecting with how you feel physically, mentally, emotionally. And then come all the way forward and slowly lower down to crocodile pose. One hand on top of the other. Forehead down. Shimmy the hips. What can you let go of? Notice what comes up in this pose. Find your breath. We're going to work through the muscles of the back line, beginning to move and breathe first, and then we'll build some strength. So we're going to bring our hands to wherever they're comfortable. Bring our arms down and start to just think about the muscles of the back. So think about from the shoulders all the way down to the heels, maybe even the tops of the feet feel a little squeezed. Just start practicing squeezing, seeing how many muscles you can find on the back line. And then we're going to inhale, lift the shoulders. Exhale, lower. Trying to use all of the muscles evenly. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Notice if your glutes seem to be firing up more than everything else. Notice if your low back seems to be doing more of the work. Just inhale, lift, exhale, lower, trying to find even use. And mindful of the muscles in the neck, mindful of that gripping sensation that we can often bring into the neck. Try not to think about lifting the skull and getting to some kind of goal, but just connecting with the muscles of the back line. Maybe even beginning to lift the toes. Squeezing the backs of the legs, squeezing the glutes, squeezing the whole back. Maybe even starting to lift the arms. If you always lift your arms forward, try taking them out or maybe even towards the hips. Change it up. And then bring it back down to crocodile pose. Shimmy and reset. place your hands down wider than your mat. And we're just going to work through soft movement. So this time not muscle engagement, but just trying to work through some movement. We're going to lift our shoulders up, take our left shoulder towards midline, and turn and look towards our right. And then switch sides. Right shoulder comes towards midline, and we turn and look towards our left toe. So nice and slow, finding all the movements your head, your neck, your shoulders, your back can make. Just kind of moving around, arriving in this space, feeling what's there. Matching your breath with your movement. Exhale as you bring the shoulder midline. Inhale, center. Nice and slow and soft. Having an internal experience. And then bring it back to crocodile. Shimmy and reset and notice anything that came up. We're going to do a little bit of back muscle strength. So, options for this. If you'd like to leave your hands down and your back, you don't feel like your back is super strong yet, we're going to lift our shoulders and then we're just going to turn and turn. If you're ready to be a little bit more, watching that your lower back is not gripping and you're crunching into the low back. You're going to bring your hands towards your hips. You're going to lift the shoulders and you're going to turn and turn. So you're turning your head, moving through your upper back. If you're really ready, you're going to lift, engage the arms, and take the left hand towards the left hip, turn and look at it, and the right hand towards the right hip, turn and look at it. Inhale, center, exhale as you twist. Trying to find the muscles in your back, and if you went to one place, one option, and it's no longer working, switch it. You're ready to build on it, move up. If you're ready to come down, come down. Be honest with yourself. If your breath is no longer steady, you're ready to come down. Maybe you need to go back to crocodile and reset. And then back to crocodile. This time shimmy the hips and then bring the heels up and take the legs side to side nice and slow and soft. Really resetting and letting go. And then lower the feet. Hands underneath shoulders, tuck the toes. Tuck the pelvis, and then as if you're being lifted by your tailbone, pull yourself up and back to child's pose. Slow, controlled, and then surrender into child's pose. Come on back to tabletop position. We're going to move through the hands and wrists. So going left to right with the weight through the hands for a little bit, just moving through, switching weight through the hands and wrists. And then turn the fingertips to point towards midline. So you can take as much weight onto the arms as you like. You can take as little weight as you like. Just starting to press into the hands. So then feel like you're pushing your fingers towards each other without moving your hands. So push the fingers, lengthen the fingers. You may need to bring the chest down a little bit more. Watch for tension in the neck. Breathe. Push the fingers a little more. Bend the elbows maybe a little more. Squeeze the stomach. Push the fingers a little more. And then we're gonna lift the fingers up as if we're trying to lift them one at a time, nice and slow. And then place them down, push them towards each other. Lift, and then place down. Lift, and place down. And then bring the hands back to neutral. Take it left to right. Weight left to right on the hands, through the shoulders. And then turn the hands, fingertips point towards the knees. So you may need to bring them nice and close to the knees. You can bring them further away. See where you're at. So see where this is comfortable for your wrists. And one of the things people often do when they begin to take weight in their wrists this way is they push down into their wrists. So pull up from your wrists so that you're using the muscles of your arms. Nice and strong. Maybe even hollow out the chest and belly. You can take the movement left to right, just kind of feeling your arms and your wrists and your hands. And if you're ready, you can bend the elbows and maybe begin to take a little weight forward, starting to really hold a little body weight in your hands. And then switch your hands, fingers forward, neutral position, tuck the toes, and make your way to a down dog. Lift up out of the wrists. So pushing into the ground to lengthen the fingers, strengthen the hands. So we're using them, strengthening them, and then pulling out of the wrists. Making room for the wrists, take the tension out of the head and neck. And then take whatever movements feel good. Warming up your down dog, bending the knees, swaying the hips. And then find the stillness of down dog. Connect with your head below your heart and breathe. Bend both knees fairly deeply. Bring the weight into the left leg. And you're going to bring the right knee in a giant circle and then place the right foot down. Left knee, giant circle, place it down. So start to be a little more fluid in your movement, but still trying to have that mind-body connection with the muscles of the hip that are going to make the circle. Really connecting with your hips, making space in your hips. And then see if you can switch the direction of the circle you were taking. Switching legs, change your circle. I think I just did opposite.
I don't know which direction I was going. I was switching it like every time I did a circle.
And then find the stillness of down dog. Breathe. So we're going to bend our knees. We're going to look towards our hands and float or take little steps up towards our hands. Land on our feet. Take a little side to side with the feet. Maybe grab a block to rest your hands on. Changing the weight side to side through the feet, finding the ankles, finding the knees, finding the legs. Take the tension out of the neck.
I think I put my pants on backwards today.
Tension out of the face.
I don't know.
I think Kaylee is the voice of every yoga student in every class. Like, what actually happens, she just actually voices it. She's the voice in your head, but she's actually voicing it out loud. So bend the knees. Take a deep inhale, arms overhead, prayer overhead. Exhale, prayer to heart. Add your pause. Inhale, open. Exhale, draw down to your heart and pause. Option to stay simple and slow, connecting with your breath. Or if you'd like, we're going to bring it up to the balls of our feet. So inhale, lift, come to the balls of the feet with the knees slightly bent. Exhale, slowly lower the heels down. We're not coming to baby chair, we're just working through the feet. Slow, controlled, connecting with your breath and all of the muscles of the body. Is your face still soft? Bonus points if you can connect with the breath and add a little smile. And then land in mountain pose with your hands of prayer. Can you soften around the low back a little more? Soften the shoulders, soften the face, soften any gripping in the toes. And lengthen the spine. So imagine you have a little string on the crown of your head and you're just getting a little taller. You're taking the weight of the skull off the spine. And then we're slowly going to edge our feet a little wider, turning our toes out. And we're going to move side to side. So we're going to move side to side, just warming up the legs, bending into the knees, taking the weight, going slow. We're starting to bring the hips down. And then we're going to find that place where we can bring the hips down and yet be solid in our muscles. So there's no goal. We're looking to just engage. Find the place where you can engage all of your muscles. So we're not sinking into the knees. We're not sinking into the hips. We're trying to pull up and be engaged around all of the joints. All these muscles should be strong, long and tall in the spine. We're going to do a little bit complicated movement today for the hips. So we're going to do it really slow to start till we know what we're doing. We're going to try and keep the torso relatively still. We're going to bring the left knee in towards center and then back. Right knee in towards center as slow as you can, squeezing the muscles, and then back. Once you get the hang of the movement, see if you can bring the hips a little lower. Really slow and strong. Haley, you're not going slow enough. I can see you flopping and cheating. Slow and strong. Slow and strong. Find the muscles of the hips. Woo.
There's so much stuff. These pants I wore when I did Zilla's haircut. So they're still dog hair. It's never coming out.
See if you can bring the hips down a little lower. Down a little lower. Use the muscles of the hips. And then bring it up. Take your legs soft and take some wiggle side to side. So try and loosen those muscles. Trust me, you want to do this cellular reset. It feels good and it helps you not retain the stress of new movement. Take your movement left and right and just kind of lift and tap and move left to right. Move through your legs. Maybe shake a leg out a little. Think about the animal kingdom. Whenever they get it hurt, they kind of shake it. Why? Because it's good for you. And it releases tension. Connect back in with the breath with the feet wide. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer to heart. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer. And then bring it down to prayer. Hold and check in. Notice any gripping. Try to soften any gripping in your muscles. Soften the glutes a little, the low back, the shoulders. Let go of gripping. Find your breath. And then this is where you may need to have a chair for balance. So if you're going to just try and work your balance, try and stay with me. Otherwise, bring a chair so you have something to lean on in the right hand. We're going to start to bring the right weight into the right leg bend. We're not going to go very far. So we bring the weight up, just tiptoe your left foot. Land on the right leg, and then lift this left leg. Bend the knee. So find your balance first. Strengthen this left leg. We want everything strong in the left leg. We're going to bring the heel in towards center and out. Try not to move anything else. In towards center and out. Right arm strong to help you balance. Core active. You should be starting to find the muscles right on that left hip. In and out, nice and slow, not flopping. Take the tension out of the neck. Bring it all the way up towards the ceiling. So heel towards the ceiling as far as it can go. Take the heel around towards the back, heel to glute, and then knee towards stomach. Again, find your chair if you need to hold for your balance.
I can't balance.
Don't watch Kaylee if you can't
I'm
balance.
watching myself falling in the thing. It's harder to balance.
Nice and slow, with control. We're just trying to find the muscles. So if you're just moving a little teeny millimeter at a time, that's enough to find those muscles. Slowly bring it down. Plant it and lift it left to right. Maybe take some shakes. Notice left and right side hips. So notice how they feel. And then switch. If you have your chair or you have blocks to lean on, switch sides. Set up for the left side, start to bring the weight in. Set up nice and slow so you have that mind-body connection first. Bring the weight over to the left leg. Start to tiptoe the right. Bring your left hand out for balance. Engage the core. Lift up. Bend. Right knee. Nice and strong. Set up strong so you're nice and stable and trying to move nothing but the lower leg on the right foot. Bring the heel in and out. In and out. Should be starting to find upper right hip. Find the muscles. Find your breath. Don't hold your breath when you're trying to balance. Soften the face. Soften the shoulders. Cheat on a mirror if you need to.
I kept the block in.
And then bring your heel all the way up to the ceiling. Nice, strong, active leg. All muscles strong. As far as you can take it to the ceiling. And then heel comes round to glute. And then knee comes back towards stomach. Round to glute. Back to stomach. Lower it down, nice and slow. And tap out. This time really shake it out because guess what? All the hard work is done.
The Shavasana tap.
I went really fast, right? Shake it out. Land your feet and really shake out the legs. Reset. Get that somatic shake, that cellular reset. And then connect back in with the breath. Inhale up. Exhale down, gentle pause. Hold at your heart. Finding that place where your legs are fairly comfortable. Placing your hands on your hips, get long in the spine first. Feel like you're pulling your feet apart. So activate the legs first. Strong legs, chest forward, slowly come down. You can find a block if you have a block or a chair to lean on, but keep your torso up. And then take a little side to side with the hips, slow as you can. Just starting to feel all of the inner thigh. Static hold feels better for you. Go ahead and just static fold. We're slowing it down. And then bend the knees and slowly bring the hips all the way down. Malasana, yogi squat pose. So land where Kayla's going to show you.
No, my block's under.
Oh, she moved her block today. I thought I heard the block.
Yeah, I was putting it away.
So find the place where you can hold Malasana. If you need something underneath the feet, underneath the heels, place it underneath the heels. This is about hips. So we don't want to hurt the ankles or the heels, just to open up the hips. You can place a block under. I'm going to show you because...
Well, if you need someone to show it.
You're going to place a block underneath the hips. So underneath the hips, now I'm not really sinking into the hips, but I can focus on opening. So I can place my legs wherever I feel like I have an opening in my hips, and rather than pushing to that maximum extension, I'm going to rest my hands here and get really tall, and then push my legs back against my hands. So now I'm using muscles. Now I'm finding that muscle connection. Get a little taller in the spine. And then come on down to a regular seat.
It's Shavasana.
It really is almost Shavasana time. So bring your feet a little bit wider than your hips and your knees out. And we're just going to bring that same movement that we did, but a little softer. So we're going to bring left knee in towards center, roll, and then right knee in towards center. So just kind of moving through your hips, just kind of looking for any gripping that you might have. So move and have an internal experience. So feel your own hips. Maybe you're holding some tension. Maybe you can use your hand to just kind of move and warm that muscle. Maybe you can just clean your clothes while you're on TV, while you're on YouTube.
They're clean until Fluffy cut.
And then slowly make your way down to your back. So let's just feel the hips. So we did some stuff at the beginning of class. Let's do that again. So set up, just so we can compare how the hips feel. So set up, bring the knees above the hips, push down the hips a little into the ground, and then take your knee circles. And just see if your hips feel any different. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They probably should. We work them pretty hard. And then back the other way. And then feet on the ground, and take a cellular reset for the hips. So a little lift, like you're just slipping a piece of paper under the hips. Lift and lower to let that wiggle happen in the hips. And you can take it left to right. I like it left to right. Take the wiggle. Let all of the muscles around the hips soften, loosen, like you're trying to wobble a bowl of jelly. Let go.
I can't do it left to right. I don't understand what you're doing.
I push the weight into my heel one at a time, just like this. See?
This is like,
That's my favorite. I like it more than the left.
I can't do that one. Well, I can. It just doesn't do anything.
Take right knee
I don't know.
over
Maybe it
left.
does.
Bring right knee in towards chest and feet towards opposite shoulders. So pull the feet towards opposite shoulders, and you can rest the hands on the shins. Breathe into the piriformis area, just underneath the glute on the right side. One of our fight or flight muscles. So really, rather than pulling into this muscle, we're finding it, finding the tension in it, and then imagine sending your breath or a big ball of energy, something visual, some way of connecting with this space, and imagining all the gripping, softening and loosening. If you're like a magical unicorn kind of person, you can imagine fairy dust being sprinkled and loosening and softening any gripping in this space, any gripping in these muscles. Slowly unravel. Bring left knee over right. And bring knees in towards chest and feet towards opposite shoulders. And breathe. Slowly unravel and make a choice about where you want to be for your resting pose. So try to let go of the world of should and should not and somebody else's expectations, and find the resting pose that is going to make your physical body most comfortable, most able to release tension. I'm going to talk you through resting pose meditation. But first, land on the ground. All the work is done, and maybe even take a moment to say that to yourself. All the work is done. All the muscles can turn off, switch off, take a break. It can also be very helpful to take a peek around at your environment and really notice where you are visually, and then soften your eyes, close or soften your focus, whatever is more comfortable. And then take a peek in at the sounds of your space. So notice what you can hear in your space. Notice the sounds that might be sounds that would alert you. So notice what might be around in your space. So you can kind of switch off your fight or flight for your sounds too. And then take a moment to perhaps even say to yourself, right here in this moment, all of my needs are met. I can switch off. I can take a break. Soften the soles of the feet. Soften the lower legs. Soften the hips. Soften the low back. Soften the muscles of the chest and shoulders. The muscles around the rib cage. Soften the muscles of the face, around the eyes, lips, temples, upper and lower jaw. Soften any gripping at the base of the skull. Try to really let go of the muscles of the neck. Let the skull land and be supported. And land right in that center point in the mind, as if you could place your awareness exactly above the spinal cord, right in the very center of the brain. Land here and be patient for what is present here. Notice perhaps if the thoughts are swirling, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're soft, not so swirling. But notice if they are swirling and distracting. Notice if they're fast-paced and rapid. And then notice that you can notice those thoughts. And take a moment to think about, if I can notice the thoughts, then I'm something more than the thoughts. I am the one that can notice the thoughts. And then we're going to do a little kind of visual meditation. It's a short meditation. We're going to bring our focus to the palm of the left hand. And we're going to imagine that we have this ball, this warm, fuzzy ball of energy in our left hand. And if today you feel more connected to a cooling energy, feel free to change the temperature of the energy. Just find something that you can connect to. You can maybe give it a color. Picture your ball of energy as a moving, swirling, magical ball. Really connect to the idea of having it softly resting in your left hand. And then imagine you're just going to pass it slowly and perfectly. It's going to go in this beautiful rainbow-shaped arch over to your right hand. And it's just going to land. You don't have to think about catching it. It's just going to move from the left to the right in this beautiful, soft, rainbow-shaped toss, all by itself, without effort. And then imagine it can go back. So rest your attention into the left hand. Feel your magical ball. Imagine you really have sensation and you can really feel it in your hand. Imagine watching it fly, using your imagination over to the right. Connect with feeling it in the right. And then as soon as you start to get distracted, toss it back over to the left. Connecting with sensation in the palms of the hands. Whenever you get distracted, just lob your ball over to the other hand. Watch it go over. In your imagination, obviously. And then watch it go back. Whenever a thought or distraction comes in, just imagine tossing the ball back. Connect. And then just for a moment, imagine that you suddenly had two balls, one in each hand. And in between, you can feel the beautiful shining rainbow of energy that you created from tossing it left to right. Imagine your left and right hands connected by this beautiful rainbow-like energy. And then if you have time to spend a little longer in your resting pose, and you're in a wonderful place and ready to just chill and take more time, go ahead and take the time. You need to finish up in 60 minutes. We're coming up on that mark right now. So if you need to finish up, you're going to imagine your rainbow, your energetic hands, and then start to feel the physical body a little bit more. And then bring one hand at a time, it doesn't matter which, over the heart center. And just connect with the feeling of your hands in this space. What can you feel in your hands? What can you feel in the center of your chest? Connect here. And then begin to imagine your hands could soften any further tension resting around the neck and the shoulders and the chest, down into the torso. And take a moment to maybe repeat any mantras or any kind of personal intention that you're working with. Or maybe you need to think of one right now. So an intention would be a truth promise. It's a truth vow. Promise to your innermost self. And you pick something that you'd like to work with and you make it short, precise, and positive. And you believe it already true. So you're going to say it the way that you would to a dear friend, as if you believe it already true. So for example, if I want to work with self-worth, I would be saying to myself, I am worthy. If I want to feel more connected, I am connected. If I want to feel more love, I am loved. And take as long as you need to say this as if every cell in your body is listening right now. As if planting little seeds, knowing they'll take root and grow. And take your time to make your way into a fetal position if you're not already there. Curling up in a ball. Connecting with the concept of going back to a time when all of your needs were met and you had not judged yourself as negative or positive or experiences as negative or positive or passed yourself through the duality of life. You were just a little spark of life. Come to this pose as often as you can to remind yourself that that spark of life exists within, unchanged by your experiences. And that experiences and thoughts and lessons learned, they're all just layers on top of that little spark. And all we need to do to recharge is to connect back in. Find that spark, like plugging into an outlet and recharging. And come on up to a seated position. Finish your practice with your hands of prayer at heart space and taking a true moment to connect. Left and right sides meeting in front of my heart, accepting myself as whole and complete, precisely as I am. May you spend the rest of your day feeling a little more patience and kindness towards yourself, and a little less judgment towards yourself. May we all know love, light, and connection. Thanks for joining us.